There are many configuration options in Microsoft 365, some of them inside the specific admin centers and some of them inside the Microsoft 365 Admin Center directly. Sometimes gathering all of these settings and finding the right piece of information can be quite challenging. Microsoft has set a grouping of settings that are most commonly used and affect globally a lot of settings throughout the organization or throughout your Microsoft 365 tenants through something called the organizational settings. In order to find those org settings, I'm going to click on Settings, go into Org Settings, and here I have 3 sets of options. Now, as I mentioned, these are just a subset of the most common settings or those that you may have to set up at a high level of importance for your organization. So first, under Services, I have many settings here that, for example, allow you to configure some mail options. And if I click on Mail, I actually have shortcuts to various windows within Microsoft 365 Admin Center or directly within the Exchange Admin Center. If I keep on going down below here, I can click on Microsoft Teams and the same thing happens here, but I also have some settings that are specific for Teams access. For example, turning on Microsoft Teams for all users or allowing guest access into Teams. These are settings that are quite global and that have broad reach across all users in my organization. These settings are truly organizational settings because they are overarching everything in my organization, and those are across multiple workloads. I'm giving you a quick example, but there are quite many of these. If I click here on Security and Privacy, these are same idea security settings. So if I click for example on Self-Service Password Reset, this is something that allows me to give users the power to reset their own password if they happen to forget it. Something that is quite recommended to have in an organization. I have here links to the various portals that will allow me to configure that. It's already configured for my organization. The same thing here is for the password expiration policy. You can specify that your passwords do not expire. This is a recommended setting. So I'd have that checkbox here. If I uncheck this checkbox, I would have to specify a password expiry. Next, I have my organizational profile. So here I have some settings that will apply again to all of my users. One of those that I find interesting is the help desk information, where you can actually specify help desk information within the Microsoft 365 apps for your users. So when your users click on help or they're looking for help inside one of the apps, they'll be provided with the information that you specify here, such as the name of your help desk, the phone number, the email address, or a URL for them to click on to go and get internal help inside of your organization. Another piece of information that can be useful here. It's not related to a configuration, but just to see where your data is I have a data location link, and this data location link actually tells me where my data is stored. Data at rest here means where your data is actually stored inside of the Microsoft data centers. Data residency is something that is quite important for many organizations to understand where their data is actually stored for geopolitical reasons. And this UI over here tells you where your data is actually stored. So these organizational settings, these configurations, once you click on them and once you enable them, they will actually apply and affect your organization almost immediately.